Welcome to Let's Color Betty. I'm Kevin with StampAnniething, and our skin tone is going to be E11, E00, E000, E quad 0, R20, and E93. We're going to start with that E11 under her hairline, and we're going to put it in all the darker areas where we want a little bit more shadow in her face, like under her nose, in the corner of her ears near the bottom. And I apologize for a little shaky camera work here. Bumped it, didn't mean to. So we're gonna fill in around the darker parts where we want it on her arm. So on the underarm, we're gonna go on the skirt line there to have a little shadow there, and around her foot and on the right hand sides of the legs. I'm gonna move in with my E00. So we're gonna go over our E11 and slightly extend. So here we're just starting our blend, and she's going to be a super quick and easy to color today. So I'm going to use this E11 also to mark out where her eyes are going to be, because I want to make sure that the eye is nice and separated from her skin. So I go ahead and trace around and use her eyelash points as a reference guide. So I'm just going to bring that color in a little bit, and then we're going to move down to our E000. So that's that pale fruit pink. And again, I'm just starting to expand that color a little bit further and get it to blend in and kind of cover in where I have all that white now. And then I'll start building up with layers of the color after. So here you can see I'm just really focusing on filling in where I want the color to be. Next up, I'm going to put her R20 into her cheeks, and I'm doing 2 rosy cheeks, and then I'm using the E93 to blend from under the cheek and up towards her ear a little bit, and then I will blend it in all together using the quad 0 to make everything meld and just kind of melt right into each other. Again, I'm going to use this marker just to smooth everything out. I go over everything. I kind of look, where does it need to be? Where do I need a little bit more highlight? What needs a little bit more blend? And then also I sometimes go back in and think, okay, where do I need a little bit more color, more depth? And you can see here, I kind of forgot her neck, so I went in and did that. And again, here you can see just a little bit more blending. And that's kind of what it's all about. When you're Copic coloring, just take a look, see what you're doing, and remember you can blend. Nothing is always entirely permanent. Sometimes, but not always. So if you want to blend something, grab a lighter marker and make it happen. So next up, we're going to be coloring her hair, and her hair is going to be using a Y23, Y17, Y15, and Y13. Oh, and Y11. So that is up next here after I had finished all that blending. So again, Y23, Y17, Y15, Y13, and Y11. And I'm going to start with little flicking motions, and I am coming out from the curves and the lines that are drawn in by Annie, because it gives me a good guide of the direction of which way the hair needs to go. And I'm going to come out from her ear as well. And this is using that YR23 first. And then I'm going to kind of define where her part would be and where that hair direction is going to be at the top. I'm going to use my next marker, the Y17, and I come out slightly from where I've already colored, not going right to the base where I started with that Y23. And I just come out and extend, and I'm just kind of flicking in, and I am following the curvature of the lines, making sure that I get hair that flows in the right directions. Then again, we're just moving through with our colors, and we go down to that Y15. And again, I'm just sort of filling that in there. And from the Y15, of course, we go to Y13, filling that in a little bit more, kind of going over, making sure there's no white marks around the hairline or anything that maybe when I did a flick, it just didn't connect. So I'm really going over here just to see, like, did I miss anything? And especially around the outside edges, but I'm not using this for the interior. That's where the Y11 comes in, and I'm going over that white space. And that's where I am going in to make sure that I know where my highlights are going to be, or if there's anything that I need to blend. Of course, when I do hair, I am always going to go back in with my darker colors and make sure that I add some definition back if I've accidentally overblended something out, or I just want a little bit more depth in certain areas. So that's what I did here with the Y23. So next up is going to be her top, which is R24, R22, R20, and RV10. So I decided to give her a weird wonky textured top. So I started with that R24, and then I built out on either side of that R24 with my R22, and then continued outward with the R20. And then I finalized it with that RV10 just to make sure everything kind of blended. I don't know if I was going for like some kind of weird tone on tone tie-dye look, but I was just like, you know what? I wanted to try something different today, and different is what we got. So after we finish her top, we're going to be going on to her skirt and her shoes, which are going to be RV19, RV17, RV14, RV13, and RV11. So I'm starting in with that darker color, and I'm making a backwards L shape on the right hand side of the skirt. I am leaving some space behind, so there's a little bit for highlight over there. And then I'm just moving down the line from the 19 to 17 to the 14 and adding those colors in and blending them over slightly. Basically, it's just going from darker to lighter. So with that lighter color, you can see I've now filled in on the right-hand side of the RV19 where it left some space. And then we just moved right down the line to our lightest color, which is at RV11. So for her shoes, I start with my darker color. So that darker color, and I believe I used my R22 for her shoes. I didn't go right in with that R24. And then I finished it with the RV11, I think. So we should have checked a little bit more, but I used a darker and then a lighter and just the two colors in her shoes to blend. So for her accessories, I used RV14 and R22. So that's just her hairband and her earrings. And again, I just chose where's my dark, where's my light. And on her earrings, I was like, you know what? We're going to put a little backward C shape on each side, color it in. And then her mouth is going to be R59. That is going to be the interior. And then her tongue is E04, and that's going on the outside edges of her tongue. And then we're going to blend that in with our R20 to make everything come together nice and smooth. Then her eye highlights is our last finishing touch for our project today. I am putting them in with a white Posca pen. You can use a white gel pen. It is totally up to you, but they really come to life once you use the eye highlights. So don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.